It just really kind of goes from bad to worse, doesn't it, for some people? I know it's awful to sort of keep reporting this in many respects, but I think it is important because the bottom line is they were quite happy to trudge along and turn over the lives of other people, with some suggest, of course, so many untruths. We're talking about this particular author and this particular book, and it's fascinating, I find, that so many structural changes have happened now to the book in the Netherlands. It's totally unrecognisable to the book that came out over here that so few people have bothered to buy. Now, as I've told you before, the publishers are very twitchy, very nervous, and really wondering exactly now what to do with this absolute colossal pile of nothing that they've invested a lot of money in. As I said to you before, the big thing that I found really strange about the whole thing was, and you know, you have to admire the author in many respects. He literally went to a publisher with no backup, no background, nothing signed down, and said, this is a story, this is what you should publish, and they just went along with it. So one might suggest it's a little bit like Harry and Meghan and their podcast thing. You know, the grifters, etc., got signed up, picked up millions of dollars, had no idea, couldn't deliver, and then of course whose fault is it? Some might say the same thing. But now that particular author is knowing exactly what it's like when things begin to turn sour. You see, over in America they have an amazing comedy show which is still doing incredibly well after so many years, Saturday Night Live. Often they've spoofed the royals to great fun, and you know, it's on the wrong side at times, but nonetheless, if you're appearing on there or spoofed on there, you know you've truly made it. Now, according to a very well-placed source, they were all set to do something regarding this book, in fact, including them. In fact, they had hoped to book them as a guest, quite literally. Can you imagine? The ego would have truly have landed at that point. But now that's all been swept under the carpet, dumped, wiped away, because quite frankly, they looked at the sales, looked at the backlash and thought, well, even that's now not funny. And that's the problem that, you know, this particular publisher and this particular author are going to find as they move forward. What do you do to keep it going? What do you do to make sure it keeps rolling in? And now, as people have discovered, they've read most of the book, the juicy parts, some people might say, for free at all the tabloids around the world. They've been called out, you know, various different names, simply not telling the truth, blatant liar, whatever you want to say. But now the bigger picture is, where do they go from here? Now, Saturday Night Live haven't totally ruled out doing something negative, let me point out, against this particular book, but it will not be in the way that they originally were going to do, i.e. featuring this particular person. So you get the picture how quickly in the world of show business, 1 foot wrong means, quite frankly, you're wiped out the door. But more importantly, there is going to be, I would suggest, certain job losses, because people were banking on this book being an international bestseller and raking in literally thousands of pounds for the publisher. One major mistake which has happened, some might say, or indeed more than one, and this is now where we're at. Difficult times for that said person, but more importantly, when you think about it, a lot of people, as happened with the Spotify deal, have found once you give the money away to someone that you believe in, it's always the little people underneath, and I mean that kindly, that lose out in the end. Strange world, isn't it? And quite frankly, no laughing matter for this endgame. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.